See how to extract tables from a website. In Python, we can use the pandas library to extract tables from websites like Wikipedia, as you can see here. So here I have a list of the Simpsons episodes in Wikipedia, and we can extract all the tables that you can see here. So we only need to use the pandas library, and I'm going to show you how to do this right now. So we go here, and I'm using Jupyter Notebooks right now. And to install pandas, first you have to write pip install pandas. So in Jupyter Notebooks, you have to use this exclamation mark, but if you're using PyCharm or the terminal, just write pip install pandas. All right, once you install pandas, we have to import it. So we write import pandas and we write as PD. So PD represents pandas. So first we import this, and then to extract tables from websites, we only have to write pd.read_html. So inside this parentheses, we have to write the link of the website. So here I open quotes and paste the link of this website, which I copied before. And now this is going to return a list. So this list is going to have multiple tables, because here in the website there are not only one but like 20 tables. So we're going to get like 20 tables in a list. So I'm going to name this list Simpsons. So this is my Simpsons list, and now I run this and we get these tables inside this list. So let's see first how many tables are in this website. So here I write land Simpsons, and here I run this and we have 23 tables. So let's get only the first table, or actually the second, because I think the second is the one that corresponds to the first season. And as you can see here, we have the second table, which corresponds to the first season of The Simpsons. So we have here episode 1, 2, 3, and so on. And if we go here, we can verify that this is the same data. So I have here season 1, and you can see that it's the same data. So we successfully extracted all the information in this table. Now let's perform some basic web scraping with pandas. Web scraping consists in extracting data from websites. So instead of doing it manually, we can automate it with some web scraping techniques. And in this video, we're going to extract CSV files from a URL using only pandas. So here's the target website we're going to scrape, and it's this one. So this website contains data about football matches of different leagues. So here you can see a lot of leagues, and now I'm going to choose the first one that says England football results. And here we're going to see some data about Premier League and other leagues that England has. And if I want to download one of these files, I will have to click on any of those. And as you can see here, I downloaded the CSV file of the first listed here. So this one corresponds to the season 21-22 and is from the Premier League. So instead of manually downloading each file, we can use a specific pandas method to read these files from the internet. And also by using the for loop, we can automate this and download all the files that you can see here. So instead of clicking one by one, we can download all the files listed here. So there are a lot of them, and we can download it just with pandas and a for loop in Python. So let's do it here. And now I'm going to show you how to extract data from a single CSV file from this website. So to do that, we have to use the read_CSV method. So we write pd.read_CSV, open parentheses, and we've used this method before, but when we use it, we read some data that was in the folder where we were working. So in the folder where this Jupyter Notebook file was located. But in this case, we're not going to read anything inside our computer, but we're going to read data that is in a website. So instead of writing the path of the file in your computer, in this case, we're going to write that link of the file. So here, I'm going to show you this file has a link. So if we want to download, we have to make a request to that link to get that file. So I'm going to show you here. I'm going to right click and now I'm going to copy the link address. So I copy and now I'm going to paste it here. And now I press enter and let's see what's going to happen. So I press enter and as you can see here, instead of going to the website, it downloaded the file. So this means that this link contains the data we want to extract. So we're gonna use this link. So I'm going to copy again here, copy. I'm gonna make sure this is the address. So copy link address and now go back here, open quotes, paste the link. And this is the link we want to extract because it contains here that .csv. So this means that this is a CSV file, and as you might remember, we read here a CSV because we're using the read_CSV method. So that's everything you have to do to read this CSV file that is stored in this website. So now I'm going to run this and let's see the results. So here, as you can see, all the data was read here with a read_CSV and it was successfully loaded here. So now I'm going to set here a new variable and it's going to be called df_premiere 21. And as you can see here, this belongs to the 21-22 season because here in the date it says 2021. And also this is Premier League because the teams belong to the Premier League. You may know if you're familiar with this competition, but if you're not, it doesn't matter. So now let's continue. So here I'm going to set this data frame to this variable. So I press Ctrl Enter. And now I'm going to show here this data frame that we saw already. And now I'm going to rename some columns because some column names aren't so obvious, so maybe you will struggle to understand what this column means, for example, and I'm going to rename some of them. So let's do it here fast, and we also practice that rename method. So here I'm going to copy here. Now I write the name of the data frame, dot rename, open parentheses, and now we want to change the columns. So I write columns equal to, then open the dictionary, and here the key is going to be, let's say we want to change only these two columns. So I'm going to tell you what they mean. So here I can write the name of the column we want to change, then colon, then the value, and now comma, and now the second key or the second key value pair. So here is the second element, and now I'm going to paste this one. So here it's the second, and now this first FTHG stands for final time home goals. So it means all the goals scored by the home team. So I'm going to replace this name with the home_goals name, and here is final time away goals. So I'm going to write only away_goals, and that's it. Those are my new names. Now to update the column names, I'm going to write in place equal to true. Now I run this, and now I'm going to show this data frame updated. So now this column is named home_goals, and this one is away_goals. And that's it. In this video, we extracted a single CSV file from a URL with pandas. Alright, now I'm going to show you how to extract tables from PDFs. So here I have a PDF, and we're going to extract this table that you can see here, so we can get this in another format. For example, I'm going to export this table to a CSV format. So I'm going to leave this PDF in the description so you can also extract the table from this PDF. Okay, to extract tables from PDFs, we have to install a library called Camelot. So we open up the terminal, and here we write pip install camelot-py. So you have to install this, but before you install this library, you have to install two dependencies, which are tk. So you write pip install tk, and the other is Ghostscript. So you have to write pip install Ghostscript and install these two libraries. These are the two requirements before you install Camelot. So once you have these libraries, we import Camelot, writing import Camelot. So we write this, and now we can start using this library. So first, to read a PDF, we have to use camelot.read_PDF. And here I'm going to write the name of this PDF, which is foo.pdf, and then I'm going to specify which page I want. In this case, I want the first page, and here you can add another parameter. For example, here there is the flavor parameter, and this is the parsing method to use. This is set to lattice by default, but in case you fail to extract the table from your PDF, you can set it to a string. So maybe with a string it works much better. So I'm going to leave it with the default value, and now I'm going to set this to a variable named tables, so equal to tables. And now let's see what's inside these tables variables. So I print these tables, and now let's see the content. So here we see that we have a table list and we have n equal to 1. And this represents that there is only one table in this page number 1. And that's exactly what we have. There is only one table in our PDF. So great. Now let's export this table to a CSV file. So to do that, we have to write tables.export and then write the name of the CSV file we want to export to. So we write foo.csv, and this is just a name I'm writing right now. And now I set the format to CSV and then set compress equal to true. Okay, now in case you have many tables, you want to pick one table in particular. In my case, I only have one table, so I'm going to pick the first table, and I'm going to export the first table using tables with square brackets 0, which represents the first table. So now to CSV, and now inside foo.csv. And with this, we export the first table to a CSV file. So now we only have to run this. And now in my working directory, I have a new file named foo.csv. So now I'm going to check it out. And as you can see, here I have the data, and here is in CSV format. And we can verify that this is the same data I have before in the PDF. So it's exactly the same, but now in CSV format. And that's how you extract a table from a PDF. In this video, we'll learn some HTML basics that will help us when scraping a website. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language and is one of the most basic tools used to build websites. It defines the meaning and structure of web content. Although we're not going to build a website in this course, it's important for us to get familiar with the basics of HTML. This will help us understand the code behind a website. As a result, we will be able to find the best approach to scrape a website and get the data we want. Now let's review the HTML markup syntax. The first element in purple we see on screen is the tag. They are hidden keywords within a web page that define how a web browser must format and display the content. Most tags must have two parts, an opening and a closing part. For example, the h1 tag is the opening tag, and h1 with the slash is the closing tag. Note that the closing tag has the same text as the opening tag, but has an additional / character. A few tags like the img tag, that stands for image, are an exception to this rule because they don't need a closing tag. There are plenty of tag names, and we'll review the essential tags for web scraping a bit later. The second element we see is the tag attribute. Attributes allow us to customize a tag and are defined within the opening tag. For example, the h1 tag contains an attribute named class. Attributes are often assigned a value using the equal sign. The attribute value in this example is title. Finally, we have the affected content, which is what we usually see in a website. It can be a text, for example, like a title of an article. It's cool like that because it's affected by the tag and attributes defined. So all of this is known as an HTML element or node. Great. So far, we've learned some of the basics of HTML. Now it's time to see some of the most important tag names for web scraping. So let's start with some of the most common tag names. The first is the head tag. This represents the head section, and it's used mostly for metadata. Then we have the body tag. This establishes the body of an HTML document. And the third HTML tag you see on the screen is the header tag, not to be confused with the head tag. The header tag typically contains introductory content and layout that goes above the body. Let's see these three tags in action in a website that we're going to scrape later in this course. First, let's inspect this website. So right-click and select the Inspect button. After this, you should get the HTML code of the website. So scroll up and go to the head tag, as you can see on the screen. So this is the head, which doesn't represent anything at all, but if you go to the body, you'll see that all the website will be highlighted in blue. And then if you select the header, you'll see a section of the website highlighted in blue, which is where the logo goes. Next, we have the article tag. This tag is new in HTML5, and this tag can be used to contain blog entries, posts, etc. Then we have the p tag, which encloses paragraph in an article. And then we have the H1, H2, or H3 tag, which are level headings. So H1 is level 1 heading, which is the headline or title of a page. And H2 is the level 2 heading, so the subtitle of a page, and so on. In this website, we can see the article tag, the H1 tag, and the P tag. So the first contains the whole article, and H1 contains the title of the movie. And finally, the P tag contains the plot of the movie. The following tags you're going to see really often when scraping websites, and you should at least recognize them to find the best way to scrape a website. First, there is a div tag, which is a divider or a kind of generic container. Then there is the nav tag, which is used for specifying a navigational region within a document, like the pagination bar. Then we have the li tag, which represents a list item with an order list or an order list. And then we have the A tag, A for anchor, also known as hyperlink or simply a link. To make an actual link using the A tag, we use the href attribute. For example, in this website, we see many movies listed in a table. We see that this is inside a UL tag, which contains a tag, which is the anchor, and inside it is the li tag, which is the list item tag. As we can see, the A tag has the href attribute that contains the link that redirects to another page. So now you can see how they relate to each other in this HTML document. Let's see the last 6 tags I listed here. So first we have the button tag. So this one specifies a button that can be clicked. It's commonly used with forms. Then we have the table tag that is used for making tables in an HTML page. Then is the TD tag, which stands for table data. This represents a data cell within a table. Then we have the TR tag, which stands for table row element. This tag defines a row of cells in a table. And then we have the UL tag, which is an order list. This one is used with the li tag to make an order list. To see these last tags in action, let's check this website that contains data inside rows in a table. So as you can see, here we have the TR tag, which represents a row, and then we have the TD tag, which represents each element of data. Then I scroll up and I got the table tag, which is the whole table that contains a group of data. The last tag I want to show you is the iframe tag. This one makes it possible to embed another page within a page. In HTML5, this is known as nested browsing. This iframe thing makes sometimes web scraping a little tricky. So sometimes you have to switch between one frame to another frame. But that's not in all the websites. So you have to recognize whether the website you're scraping has multiple iframes or everything is contained in just one iframe. Before we start writing some code, let's review some HTML basics first. Here's the website we're going to analyze. I chose this website for its simplicity, so you can successfully scrape your first website. The website has three main sections: the title, the plot description, and transcript. Now let's have a look at its HTML code. Here I wrote a short HTML code version of the website that contains transcripts of thousands of movies. Now, if you've never seen HTML code before, you could still recognize some text elements like the title, description, and transcript. In this case, we're looking at the transcript of the movie Titanic, so that's why the title is there. Besides that element, something you will always see in HTML code are tags. Tags are those words surrounded by brackets. There are opening and closing tags. For example, in this HTML code, we have four tags: article, h1, p, and div. Each of them represent a node, and we'll see them in detail in the following tree structure. The tree structure will help us come up with effective ways to scrape a website, and also will be the foundation for XPath that we'll use later in this course. Now let's start building this tree. The first element of the tree is the root. In this case, the root is the article element. As we've seen in the HTML code before, this article tag has an attribute called main article. This root element also contains the h1 tag that contains at the same time the text Titanic, which is the title of the movie. Another element inside the root is the p element. In this case, this has an attribute and a text. The attribute is named plot, and the text is the plot description. Finally, we have the div element. This element has also an attribute called full script and text with the transcript of the movie. All the rectangles you see on this tree are called nodes. Every node has exactly one parent, except the root. The h1 node's parent is the article node. Siblings are nodes with the same parent. An element node can have 0, 1, or several children, but attribute and text nodes have no children. For example, p and div have two child nodes, but no child elements. Now, something very important in this tree is the attribute element, because they will determine the approach to take to scrape a website. In this example, you see only classes like main article, plot, and full script. However, you can also find IDs and others. In this video, we'll learn how XPath works. XPath is key to easily learn web scraping with Selenium and Scrapy. So let's start. XPath stands for XML Path Language. XPath is a query language for selecting nodes from an XML document, but we can also use it to select elements from HTML pages. Another way to select elements from websites is using CSS selectors. CSS stands for Cascadian Style Sheet. So it's a language that was mainly created to style HTML web pages. CSS and XPath have some similarities in their syntax. However, in this course, we'll mainly see how to select elements with XPath because of its simplicity. Now let's review the XPath syntax. With XPath, we can select an element by using the double slash, and then we write the element name. This is the most basic way to locate an element or node. For example, if you want to select all the h1 elements in an HTML page, we do double slash h1. This double slash is a special character in XPath that means pick a matching node that is located at any level within the XML document. We're going to see the meaning of this in other special characters in detail in the next video. Now we can select an element based on its position by using the square brackets. Let's imagine that there are two h1 tags in the page. You will pick the first, writing the XPath expression double slash h1 plus 1 inside square brackets, and you will pick the second h1 tag with double slash h1 and the number 2 inside square brackets. Now we can also specify the attributes, adding square brackets and writing inside the attribute name. This is the standard version of an XPath. It starts with double slash followed by the tag name, square brackets, the @ sign, and the attribute name like class, ID, and so on. Then we write the equal sign, then quotation marks, and inside the quotation marks, the attribute value. This is how we build an average XPath expression. We can also use some functions to find specific values. For example, the starts with function will search for text at the beginning, while the contain function will search for text included inside an element. In this example, I included the contains function inside the XPath expression. So, as you can see, we have to include parentheses to wrap the attribute name and attribute value. We also have to use the comma to separate the attribute name and attribute value instead of the equal sign. You can also use the and or logical operators with XPath expressions. They should be placed inside the square brackets, and every time you use operators, include a parenthesis for each XPath expression. We'll see how functions and operators work in action using a small HTML code in the next video. Now it's time to test some XPath expressions with this small HTML code we've been using so far. I'm going to leave the HTML code I'm using with the link of this website in the description so you can play with it and understand how XPath works. So as you can see, this is a small HTML code of the Titanic transcript we've seen before. So this HTML code is going to help us understand what we've learned of XPath so far. So as you can see, there is the title, the plot description, and the small transcript I wrote. So you can test the XPath expression in that bar. For example, I'm going to write double slash and then write the tag name h1. So as you can see here, the result, it includes the h1 that is the title, Titanic 1997. And if I want the text, I can just write a slash and then text with parentheses. This is one way to get the text, but there are many ways to get text with Selenium or with scraping. I'm going to show you how to do it later. So now let's test some other XPath expression. So let's try the P, which is the paragraph tag. So now I write P and I get two results because I included two plot elements. Now let's try double slash div, and now let's get the text inside it. So we get the transcript of this movie, which is just a small phrase of the movie. And now let's try some other expression. So I write double slash and P. So I get two results because I have two plots. So if I want to specify one element in particular, I have to open square brackets, and inside I have to write the number. So for example, if I write 1, it means the first element or the first P element, which is the first plot that contains 84 years later. And if I write 2, it's the second plot that contains the text in the end, and that's it. So now let's write div to test the average XPath expression. So now I write the @ sign and then class, and then open quotes and write full script. So this is gonna be the XPath expression of the transcript element. So this represents the full script element, and we just use the XPath expression with the div tag, the class attribute name, and the full script attribute value, as we've seen before. So now if I want the text, I just write slash and text with parentheses, and we just get the text. Now let's delete all the text values and just leave the sign elements of the XPath expression, like the double slash, the quotes, square brackets, and the @ sign. So this is the bones of the XPath expression, and now I'm going to write the P tag, class, and now the value plot. So as you can see, I get one element because I just have one XPath with these conditions. And now let's test some logical operators. So to do so, I'm going to include parentheses and then copy this, write OR, and then paste this expression. So I'm saying locate an element that contains the class plot or the class plot2. So either one or the other. So as you can see in the result, I get 2 results that tell us that both elements satisfy these conditions. Now, if I write AND instead of OR, I will get no result because there is no element that satisfies both conditions. So let's now try the contains function. So I delete one XPath expression and now just one remains. So I'm going to write inside the square brackets the word contains. And instead of writing the equal sign, I'm going to replace it with the comma. As you can see, it says that at least it should have 2 arguments. So I'm going to replace the equal sign with the comma. So as you can see, I get 2 results because both elements contain the word plot inside the attribute name. So that's why I get 2 results. This contains function will still work if I change the XPath expression. So let's change the P tag for div, and also let's change the plot attribute value for script. So now I get the transcript element, which is the full script, and that's how you use the contains function with XPath expressions. And that's it. Now it's your turn to test any XPath you want with this HTML code. Now it's time to see some special characters that will come in handy when writing XPath. This lesson will be extremely useful to build robust XPath expressions that will efficiently locate any element we want. First, we have the single slash character. This one selects the children from the node set on the left side of this character. In contrast, the double slash specifies that the matching node set should be located at any level within the document. For example, if we write double slash article, we'll get any descendant node in the HTML tree. In this case, the root is the only that matches. Now, if I add slash h1, I get the immediate h1 element, in this case, the movie title. If I add slash p, I get the 2p elements, and if I add slash div, I get the transcript. On the other hand, if we want to get the text, we should write text and parentheses. However, if we add only a single slash, we won't get the text we want because it's not the child node of article. So what we have to do is to write first the element that contains the text. For example, if we write slash h1, Before slash text parentheses, we should get the title. Also, you can get the text using double slash text and parentheses, because double slash locates an element located at any level within the document. Then we have the dot character. This specifies that the current context should be considered as a reference, so it refers to the present node. Then we have the double dots, which refers to a parent node. Sometimes it's difficult to find an element in a website, but if you find its children, you can use this special character to find the parent. Now I have a double slash h1 that matches the title. Let's see what happens if I add single slash and period. As you can see, I still get the same element because period returns the current node. However, if I write now period twice, the parent node will be returned. In this case, the parent node of h1 is article. Unfortunately, in this XPath Playground page, you can't see it clearly. But if we go to the actual page and inspect it, then press Ctrl F to text XPath and write the same XPath. So first double slash h1 and then add that twice. You will see that only the article element, that is the parent node, will be highlighted in green. Now we have the asterisk character, which is a wildcard character that selects all elements or attributes regardless of names. As an exercise, try to guess what these characters mean together. You can pause the video to figure it out if you want. So these characters together select all the children nodes considering the current context. This means that all the children elements will be matched. So this is the opposite of that double dot character that gives you the parent node. Now let's test the asterisk character. If I write double slash article and then slash asterisk, I'll get all the nodes inside article. So as you can see, there is the h1 node, the p node, and the div node that contains the transcript. Now as you can see, we obtain all the elements inside. Now if I add slash text parentheses, I get all the text inside these elements. Finally, we have some characters we've already seen. So first, there is the @ sign, which selects an attribute. Then we have the parentheses that it's used for grouping an XPath expression. And the last one is the square brackets with a number inside, which indicates that the node with an index n should be selected. And that's it. You just learned many special characters. Use them wisely to build better XPath expressions. To scrape websites with Selenium, first you have to download Chrome driver and install Selenium. To download Chrome driver, just go to chromedriver.chromium.org and in the download section, you will find this page. Here you will find the current releases of Chrome driver and you have to choose the one that corresponds to the version of the Google Chrome you're using. To know which version is the right for you, just go to this three dots button on the upper right corner and click on it. And inside help, click on About Google Chrome. Here you will see the version of Google Chrome that you have installed. So in my case, I have installed version 92. So I'm going back to the other tab and now I'm going to choose Chrome driver 92. But in your case, you have to choose the one that corresponds to your Chrome driver. So I click on Chrome driver 92. Then you'll see options for different operating systems. So you'll see Linux, Mac, and Windows. In my case, I have a Mac, so I'm going to download Mac 64. So I click on it and then it's going to start downloading the file. Once the file is downloaded, unzip the file and remember the path where you're leaving this file because we're gonna use this path later. Now it's time to install Selenium. So you can install inside PyCharm. So just open PyCharm and then go to the terminal located on the bottom. So click on it. And after that, just write pip install Selenium. And after this, just press enter. And after this, you'll have Selenium install. Another way to install Selenium is just opening the terminal or the command prompt. In my case, I'm gonna open the terminal, and once you have the terminal, just activate your virtual environment and then write pip install Selenium and press enter, and then Selenium will be installed on your machine. And that's it. In this video, I'm going to show you how to automate this website so we can extract the titles and subtitles that you can see here in the news. So we're going to extract these titles and subtitles of each card so we don't have to visit this website every time we want to read the news, but we only check our TXT file and see the titles and subtitles, and we can see which is the most interesting news for us. So let's go to PyCharm, and the first thing we're going to do is to create a driver. A driver allows us to interact with this website through Selenium. So let's do this. So first we have to import WebDriver. So we write from Selenium import WebDriver. So that's the first thing we do, and after that we have to make another import. So we have to write from selenium.webdriver.chrome.service import service. So in Selenium 4, we have to make this extra import, which is something we didn't need in Selenium 3. But for Selenium 4, which we're using right now, we need this extra import. So let's continue with this. And now let's define the website and the path that we're using. So first, the website that we're going to automate in this case is this website I chose, which is all about football, and I just copy and paste it. So here's the website, and now the path. So the path is where you downloaded the Chrome driver. So in the previous video, you downloaded a Chrome driver and you have to copy and paste the path of that file. So just copy and paste it. So I'm just gonna paste the path of my Chrome driver here. And now let's define the driver. So I write driver equal to webdriver.chrome and open parentheses. In previous versions of Selenium, that was enough to create a driver. But on Selenium 4, we have to do an extra step, which is creating a service. So here I'm gonna write service equal to, and here use this service that I imported here. So I just copy and paste. And now I have to write executable path equal to path. So this executable underscore path argument is equal to the path that we defined here. And after this, we have to define the service parameter inside this Chrome method and equal to service. So basically, it's first we define a service. We say executable path equal to path, and then we define here in the service parameter, we set this equal to service, which is this one that we defined before. And now we can open a driver by writing driver.get, and inside parentheses we write website. So driver.get website, and if we run this, we're gonna open a Chrome driver or just the Chrome browser. As you can see here, it says that Chrome is being controlled by automated test software. And this is not the browser I had before. The one I opened before, that I showed you before, is here. So this is the one I opened manually with Chrome. But this one is the one that Selenium opened by itself, so automatically. So we're gonna automate this website, and we're gonna do that on the next video. Alright, in this video, I'm going to show you how to extract the title and subtitle of this news. So, first, to extract the title and the subtitle and all the data in any website that you visit, you have to right-click on any blank space and select the inspect option. So I select on inspect, and now we have this developer tools open. So this tab that we just opened is developer tools. And here it contains all the HTML elements that is behind this website. So you can see here that we have many elements and they represent the elements in the website. So now I'm gonna click on this option or this button on the left, the one that is here, and I'm gonna select a specific element that I want. So here, let's select this element that is here on the right that I'm hovering on right now. So I'm gonna click on this element that is here on the left, and then I'm gonna drag to this element that is here. So this is a card of a news, and there are many. So I'm gonna choose this one in particular just to work with this. So I click, and now we have this element in blue. So it's selected this in the developer tools, and this indicates that this is the HTML element that is behind this card. And as you can see, every card contains a title and a subtitle. And this one here too contains a title and a subtitle, and this one, the big one here, also a title and a subtitle. And now let's check out other elements here in the developer tools. So we have now this element in blue, but we can go up and see this div element. So we have before this a element, but here we have now the div element, and this one represents, I think, the footer of this news. And if we go up, we can see, let's say, a small container that only contains the title and subtitle. And if we go up, we see the container that only contains the image of the news. So basically that's how it works. And also here, this is the element, let's say the parent element, and this one contains the whole thing. So I'm gonna use this one in particular to locate this card, and not only this one, but all these cards, because they represent or they have the same pattern. So I'm gonna build an XPath that locates this element. And to do that, we have to press Ctrl F here in Developer Tools. And once we press this, we have this option that allows us to find an element by its XPath. So here we have to build the XPath, which basically consists of a tag, a attribute, and the attribute value. And now let's create this XPath. So I'm going to copy the attribute value because it's a bit long and I might forget. And now to create this XPath, I only have to write /, then the name of the tag, which is div, then open square brackets, and here I write this @, and then the name of the attribute, which is class, then equal to double quotes or single quotes, and now I paste the element that I had before. And as you can see, this element is now highlighted in green. Now this is great, we have the whole card selected. But on second thought, I think it's much better if we only select the text, because here now we have not only the text, but we have the image of the news. But we only want the text because that's what we're going to extract. So to do that, I'm going down here, and this one represents the image, as you can see here. And I'm going down one more time, and this element represents only the text. So I'm going to replace the value of this attribute, and I'm going to paste it here. So we only obtain that element and not the whole thing. So here I paste it, and now I have this element, which is, well, first we have this one because this is the first element on the website, and then we have this one. So this is the one we're working with, and well, we also have this one and this one. And by the way, here in this option, we can navigate through all the elements that were found. So as you can see, not only this element represents this XPath, but also all the news that you can see in this website. So let's go back to this one. And as you can see here, we only have the title and the subtitle. So only the text. Great. Now let's copy this XPath and let's go back to PyCharm. And what I'm going to do is paste this XPath, and now I'm going to write driver dot, and here I'm going to use a method called find element. So I choose this one, and this has two parameters, by and also value, which I just wrote here. So by and value. The first one is the method that we're using to locate this element, and in this case is an XPath because we just build the XPath, as you can see here. And in the value is the value of the XPath. So I'm just going to copy and paste, and well, it's here, but as you can see, there is a conflict because we use double quotes here for this XPath and also here for the value. So it's like a conflict. So I'm gonna press Ctrl Z, and I'm gonna use single quotes to avoid that conflict. So now I paste, and we have this. So this is great. Now we have this element, and with this we are supposed to get the element that is here. So the text, title and subtitle. Here there are different methods that you can use. You can also use the ID or the class or any other attribute, but we're gonna use mostly XPath in this course. Great. Now before we move on, here we have to modify this method. So we shouldn't use find element, because here if we use find element, we're gonna get only the first element in this website. So as you can see here on the bottom, there are 50 elements that were found with this XPath. So we can navigate here with these arrows. We can navigate from the first element to the last element. And if we use only find element in singular, we're gonna get only the first element in this list. So this one, the one that you see right now. So this one here, that's the only element that we're gonna get. And we don't want that. We want all the elements in this website, that all the elements that were found. So to do that, we have to use the find elements method. So in plural with the S. So now we're gonna get all the elements that are found with this XPath. So great. Now we have this, and I'm gonna set this equal to containers. So this is my variable, and now let's move on here. And now that we have this XPath, I'm gonna show you something else that we can do. So let's go back to the element that we had before, which is this one, and great. Now we have this element which is in green, and we have the whole, let's say the whole container, but we only want the title, or we want the title and subtitle separately. So we don't want to extract them together, but in different variables. So what we have to do is just to open this element here. We can click here and open the elements that are inside this element. So to see the children of this element. So we open this one, and we see that there is this A element, and we still don't get the title and the subtitle separately. So we click one more time here, and now we have this H2 and this P. And we can see that this H2 represents the title and the P represents the subtitle. With this, we can get the subtitle and the title separately. So we only have to build the XPath. And to get to these elements and to get this XPath, we only have to add this slash, which says, hey, give me the immediate node. And we only have to write the A, because the A is the immediate node that follows this div. So we have to write A. And as you can see here, we have this A followed by this div. So it's like a sequence. We have first the div, and we have now the A. Now we write this slash again, and now we have to get to this H2 because this one represents the title. So we write slash, and now one more time we write H2. So this is basically the sequence. First is div, then is A, and then is H2. And we use this single slash because we want to get only the immediate node. So everything is perfect. So div, A, and H2. And if we navigate here with these arrows, we can see that we get all the titles in this website. So everything is perfect. So let's just copy this XPath And now let's paste it here on PyCharm. So I'm gonna paste it and I'm gonna comment this out. Okay, now to get to this title element, I'm gonna use driver and I'm gonna use find element. So now again, we write by and we write value. And now we write again XPath. And now we paste the XPath that we just built. So it's here, I paste it. So now I write single quotes to avoid any conflict, and we have this. So as you can see, this XPath and the previous one we built has something in common, which is this one that I'm selecting right now. So this is the same as this. And there is nothing wrong if we leave this as it is, because it's correct. But we can improve the syntax of this code. So what we can do here is to reduce this containers variable. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna loop through this list. By the way, I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but the difference between find element and find elements is that find element returns a single element, but find elements returns a list, and a list is an iterable, so we can iterate through a list. So we're using find elements and this returns a list. So containers is a list that we can iterate through. So we write for container in containers colon, and now we can put this inside the for loop. So now we can use this container variable and we can replace this instead of driver. So we can replace this with driver. So we paste this one and now we have container.find element. And basically this new, let's say this new syntax is reducing this container variable. So now instead of writing all of this XPath, we can only use the dot sign and just replace all the XPath that we had before. So this dot represents this thing. And we can use this dot because we're using here also the container reference. So this container is used as a reference for this new XPath. So this is like a new syntax that you can use to avoid writing a long XPath as we had before. Great. Now let's find the XPath for the subtitle. So here we have the XPath for the title, which was here. And now let's find the XPath for the subtitle. So as you can see here, the XPath for, or the element for the subtitle is the one here that is inside the P tag. So this P tag represents the subtitle, and to get to this P element, we only have to delete this H2 and only write P. So as you can see, now we have all the subtitles. So the subtitle of this news, now the next one, and the next one, and this one too. So it's great. Now we have all the subtitles of all the news listed in this website. So now we only have to copy and paste it here, comment this out, and I'm gonna duplicate this line of code with Control D. And now we have this. So instead of writing the whole thing, we can only write, just delete this and P. And let's compare this. So first we have this, and this is represented by the dot, which is, by the way, this one, which is exactly the same. So then we have A, which is here, /A, and then /P. So this is the equivalent of this. So great. Now we can delete this, and now we have the subtitle element. So far, so good. Now let's go back to the website, and I want to show you something. Here we have right now the subtitle element, as you can see here. But what happens if we only want the text? Because right now we have all these elements selected in green, as you can see. It's all this element with the tag name, with the attribute, and also this thing. But we only want the text, which should be in white, like this one, but it's in green right now because it's selected. So what if we only want the text and not the whole element? So if we only want to extract the text, which is in white here and is in black in the website, what we have to do is to use the text attribute. So let's go back to PyCharm, and to get to the text, we only have to write that text, and this returns only the text of this element. So we have this whole element that is in green, and with that text we only get the text inside this element. So we copy this one and we use it also for the subtitle. Great. Now let's give a name to this expression. So I'm gonna write title equal to this, and now subtitle equal to this. So with this we have the variable names and we can move on. All right, now the next element that we're gonna get is the links of each news. So here we have each card, and let's go here again to the card. We have this card, for example, and what we want to do is to get the link. So we go directly to the website that contains this news. And as you can see, the link is here. It's inside the href. This is the link. So I'm gonna just click on this link, and now let's wait. And as you can see here, we have the news that corresponds to that card. So is all the details about this news. And now I go back here, and well, that's how we get to the link. And now we verify that that's the right link that we want. So now we have to build the XPath that gets that link. So I'm gonna delete this /a and /p, and now we have only this. So to get to this href or to this link, we have to add the /a that we had before. And this is the element that represents this whole, let's say this whole description. And if we want to get to the link, we only have to use the href attribute. That's a method that we can use in PyCharm. So let's just copy this and let's go back to PyCharm. So I'm going to use again the container as a reference, and again find element. And here I'm gonna use by, and again we're gonna use the XPath as a method, and we're gonna write value, and here single quotes and the whole XPath. So we don't need to use this part of the XPath because we already have the container as a context. And okay, now we can get only the href. And to do that, instead of writing that text, for example, as we did before, we only have to use the get attribute method. So we write get attribute, and inside we write the name of the attribute, which is href. As you can see here, the name of the attribute that contains the link is href. So we write href, and with this we get the link. So we don't get the whole element, but we get only the link of this element. So now I'm going to define this as link equal to, and that's it. Great. Now one little detail that I want to tell you here is that usually the links are inside href attribute. This is like something that you're gonna see quite often. And also the href is inside an a tag. So you will usually see that the link are inside href attribute and also inside an a tag. So that's a typical element that you will see often. So the next time you want to get to a link, just look for the href or look for the a tag, and you will get to the link fast. So now back to PyCharm, and with this we have all the elements. So another detail that I want to mention is that here we're using find element and not find elements, because here in this for loop we're iterating through each element of the list. So containers is a list, but container is an element. So here is only a single element per iteration. So we only have to use find element because it's a single element. Great. In this video, we learned how to locate all the elements that we wanted in the website. In the next video, we're going to see how to export all these elements in a CSV file, and we're going to use pandas for that. Alright, in this video, we're going to see how to export all the elements that we extracted to a CSV file. So first, what we have to do is to create empty lists. So I'm going to create 3 empty lists. The first one is going to be titles, and this one represents this title element. And now I'm going to duplicate this, and the second one is going to be subtitles in plural. and the third one is going to be links. So I write links, and these are my 3 lists. Now what we have to do is append each element to a list in this for loop. So in each iteration, we're going to append an element to this list. So we only have to write here titles and use the append method. So this append method allows us to append each element to the list, and we only have to write the variable that we want to append. So it's like this: titles.append, and inside parentheses the element. Now I duplicate this, and I'm gonna use only subtitles, and I'm gonna use the same logic. So subtitles.append and subtitle. So this one is the list and this one is the element. And one more time, now links, the list, append the element, which is link. So this is what we have, and this is how we append each element to the list. So in every iteration. Great. At this point, all the lists are filled with the elements in this iteration. So what we have to do now is build a data frame with these lists. And to create a data frame, we have to use a library named pandas. So I'm going to write here import pandas as PD, and probably you have to install this library. So go ahead and click on terminal, and here just write pip install pandas, then press enter, and you just have to wait some seconds to install this library. I already have this library installed, so I don't have to wait anything. So once you have pandas installed, you can write this import pandas as PD. And now we can use the library pandas with this PD. So I write PD, and now I can use the data frame method. So now I can use the data frame method, and I can open these curly braces, and inside I can use a dictionary. So to show you this much better, I'm going to create a dictionary so you don't get confused. So first I'm going to write dictionary underscore or just my dictionary. So my underscore dict, and open here a dictionary. So as you might know, a dictionary consists of a key and a value. So the key is the one that is here on the left, and the value is the one that is on the right. So the value, I'm gonna set it here to my variable, which is titles. So our dictionary is going to have 3 keys and 3 values. So the first value is titles, and I'm going to name this as titles2. There is nothing wrong if you set the name of the key as the name of the variable, but if you want, you can change it. For example, I can write only title. You don't have to write it the same way. You can change it a little bit, or you can change it completely. You can choose. So now I'm going to write the second element, which is the subtitles list. So here are subtitles, and I'm going to paste these subtitles, and I'm going to write just in singular, subtitle. That's the name of my key. And now the third one is links. So here, links. This is the name of the value. By the way, the name of the value obviously has to be the same as the one that we want here, which is the list. And here I'm gonna write the name of the key, which is link, which I can choose right now. Great. Now we can use this dictionary to create a data frame. So here I copy the name of that dictionary and I put it inside parentheses. And with this, we can create a data frame using this dictionary. So just a recap right now. First, we have these lists here, empty lists. We fill these empty lists with all the elements here in the loop. And then now that we have all the elements inside these lists, what we have to do is to create a dictionary. So this dictionary has a key and a value, and the name of the key, we can choose it, but the name of the value is the name of the lists. So with this, we have the dictionary, and we created this dictionary to create a data frame. So we only write pd.data frame, and inside we write my underscore dict. And with this, we have this data frame. So I'm going to name this data frame, and I'm going to set it equal to df underscore headline. So we have this data frame, and now we can easily export this to a CSV file using df underscore headlines .to underscore CSV. So we're exporting to a CSV file. But there are other options like JSON and also Excel and HTML and different options. But I'm going to choose CSV, as you can see here. And now I'm going to give a name to this file, and it's going to be headline.csv. And with this, the file is going to be exported with this name. So great. Now to end all of this, we have to use driver.quit. So after we extract all this information and we export all of this to this CSV file, the driver is going to be closed with this .quit. Great, now let's test this out. So we right click and choose run. So I run this script and let's see what happens. So first, Python is going to open this driver through Selenium, and now it extracted the information and it closed the driver. So the script was successfully executed, and now let's check if we have this headlines.csv here on our working directory. So here I open this, and we can see that there is a file named headline.csv, which is this one. So we were working in this folder named tutorial, and this one is the file we just generated. So we double click on it, and we can see that we have the title, the subtitle, and the links. So now let's verify if this is correct. The first title is best of the best, and the subtitle says who makes our Man City versus Real Madrid combined 11, and all of this. So let's check if that's the same here. And yeah, it says best of the best and who makes our Man City versus Real Madrid and all of that. So everything was successfully extracted, and we also have the links. So we can visit any news that is interested for us. We can go directly to the website, and we can check all the news here without being distracted by all these images and all the ads on the website. Great, that's it for this video. On the next video, I'm going to show you how to do all of this on the background, so you don't have to see that driver opened every time you run the script, but all will be run in headless mode. So far, we automated this website and extracted the titles and subtitles that you see here. And we did this with Selenium. So every time we run this code, we open this browser automatically and extracted all this data. That's great. But in this video, I'm going to show you how to do all of this without opening this browser with Selenium, but doing this in headless mode. So we don't have to watch Selenium open this browser and do all the automation, but we can just do it in the background, and we can let Selenium do that in headless mode. So let's go back to PyCharm, and here we're going to add some lines of code to activate headless mode. So to do that, first we write here from selenium.webdriver.chrome.options import options. This options is going to help us modify the default behavior of Selenium. So now we add here some lines of code, and first I'm going to write here headless mode, so we know that this is the part that is going to change. So here first we initiate an instance of the options class here. So I write options parentheses, and here I write just equal to options. So this is just a rule of thumb. You have to initiate an instance, and this is my options object. As you can see, I gave the same name to the name of this class. This is just like a convention. You use the same name, but here in lowercase. And this is my options object. So now I write options, and to turn on headless mode, we have to use the headless parameter. So I write headless, and this by default is set to false. So we don't use headless mode when we run this script because it's in false. But if we want to turn on headless mode, we have to set it equal to true. So it's equal to true now. And now we have to change this WebDriver.chrome. So in addition to this service parameter, we're going to add another parameter. And this time is going to be options. So these options has all the default parameters that Selenium works with. So Selenium has some default behavior and we can change it here with the options parameter. So I'm going to set options equal to options, and there it is. So as you can see, I use this name variables just to make my life easier. You can set any other name to this options variable. You can set it like options 1, 2, 3, and you can write here options 1, 2, 3. It doesn't matter. I just name my variables like this to make my life easier. Here too, service equal to service. You can use a different name for service here, but I just name it service in lowercase. All right, now something you need to know is that we can make different changes to that default behavior of Selenium, but one of the most popular is headless mode. Later in the course, we'll see another things that we can add to these options object, so we can modify the behavior of Selenium even further. So now let's continue with these changes. Everything is ready to run this script in headless mode, but I'm gonna make a little change here in the end. So instead of naming this CSV file as headline, I'm gonna name it headline.headless. So we know that this comes from this script, which is the one we're using with headless mode. So headline this dash headless, and now it's ready. Let's run this script and see the results. So let's wait a couple of seconds. And the difference with the previous script is that here we're not gonna open browser automatically with Selenium as we did in the previous video, but all is going to be done in headless mode, so in the background. Here we got a message that everything was successfully, and now I'm going to close this one and see if we have this file headline headless. So I go here and I check here, it says headline -headless, and we have all this data. So it's the title, the subtitle, and the link again. But everything was done with headless mode. So let's verify the first title, subtitle, and here it says Pep Idol, watch Guardiola, star reaction to Benzema's penalty. So let's go here, and this is the first section that we are working with, and yeah, we got the same Pep Idol, Guardiola's reaction to. So great. You can verify if all that news was properly extracted. I did it myself and everything is working fine. So that's it for this video. In this video, we'll learn how to automate this website and extract all this data in headless mode. All right, in this video, I'm going to show you how to schedule this script to run every day or every time of the day you want. So for example, this news, we can schedule to run every morning. So every time we turn on the computer, you'll have the CSV file with all the data automatically extracted. So you don't have to do it yourself, but you can schedule when that's going to be executed. So to do that, first, we have to convert our Py file. This is a Py file because this is Python. So the extension is .py. And we have to turn this Py file or convert this Py file to an executable. So we have to do that first, but before we do that, we have to make some modifications to our script. So we have to prepare our script to work properly before we turn our Py file into executable. So to do that, we're gonna do some importation. So we write from datetime import datetime. This is the first. The second is import OS. This helps us like interact with the operating system. For example, we can create folders and other things. And the last one is sys. I didn't explain you what datetime is. This helps us manipulate the date and time. So for example, we can extract the hour or the day when the script is executed. So that's it. That's all the modules or libraries we have to import. And now let's do some changes. So first, we have to use the OS module and get access to the path attribute. And then write dir name and use sys.executable. What we're doing here is get the path of the executable that we're going to create. So far we have a PY file, but we're doing this for the executable that we're going to create in the next video. So with this, we're saying get the path of the executable that we're going to create. And here we only get access to the path. This is the attribute of the OS module, and well, this is the directory name. And let's give this a name. I'm going to name this application underscore path. So my application is my executable file that we're going to create, and this is the path. So we know what's the path of this executable. We do all of this because when we work with executable files, it's a bit messy to work with paths. Sometimes the path, you don't know where goes the file that you have here. So right now we export all this data in this CSV file, and this CSV file is exported in our working directory. This is fine because we're working with a PY file, but when we work with an executable file, things get a bit messy and we don't know sometimes where the file is actually exported. And with this, we're going to be able to export the file in the same folder where our executable file is going to be located. So it's going to be in the same folder and we're not going to have any problem with the path. So that's why we do this. Next, we use the datetime, this datetime to customize the name of our file. So right now is just headless or headline, headless.csv. But if we run this every morning, we're not gonna know which file corresponds to which day. So for example, if it's a Saturday in the weekend and we didn't check the news from Monday to Friday, we wouldn't know if this file is from Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday and so on. So just to customize the name of the file that is going to be exported, we have to create a variable that indicates which day is the day when this script or this executable is going to be executed. So now to do that, we write datetime.now parentheses, and this is equal to, well, I'm just gonna name it now. And with this, we have the date right now, according to my machine or my computer. So now we have to use a method called strftime. This stands for a string from time. And basically what we're gonna do is to get the time in a string format. So here, this now variable is in time format, and we're going to convert this time data into a string so we can customize and format this time. So here inside you have to write the format that is used in this by this strftime method. I didn't explain the syntax of this or the format of this, but it's quite simple. I'm going to this website, which is right here, which is named as the method strftime. You can go visit this website and you can check the format that I was talking about. So for example, what I want to create here is a format that is, let's say day or month, day and year. So I'm going to extract just this %m. I just copy and paste it. Then I said I want, sorry, this was month with the m, then d. So I'm going to extract this, where is the d? It's here. So I just copy and paste %d, and finally the year, which is going to be %y. So this is the year. So with this we have month, day, and year, as I showed you here. So this is the format that we have to use. You only can copy here and paste it as I did it. Now I'm gonna give this a name, and I'm gonna name it month, well, just as simple as this, month, day, underscore year. And I'm gonna put this here on the right. So with this, we have this variable, and this variable is gonna help us customize our file name. So now let's go here, let's go to this section, and I'm gonna use a f string to customize this string. So I only write f in front of this string, and now to add a variable or to concatenate a variable, I have to use the curly braces. So with curly braces, we can concatenate a variable. So I'm gonna copy the name of the variable, and I'm gonna paste it here. So I paste it, and actually I'm gonna change this name. I want it to be just headline. So headline hyphen and this. So with this, we're gonna get something like that. Something like headline hyphen Tuesday, or well, in this case, numbers. So 1 or 01/04/2022, something like that. Just following this format, month, day, and year. So with this, we get this CSV file with the date that we want. And now what we have to do is to use this application path, because I told you that the path is a bit messy when we work with executable. So we're going to include this path here. And an easy way to do this is just adding these curly braces for a variable and just pasting this and adding the slash. And as you can see, this is the typical format we use for a path, right? We use this slash, and that's how we put two paths together. So we put this path and this, and we get the whole path. But this is not a good practice, because this slash is also a bit messy between operating systems. Sometimes different operating systems use like different slash. So for example, macOS I think uses this /, but Windows I believe uses this /. So it's like a bit messy. You can find some problems if you use this slash. So what we do is work with the OS module to avoid this slash. So we use the OS, and we use the join method to avoid writing this slash ourselves. So what we do is write os.path.join, and here we have to add the path we want to concatenate. So before I do this, I'm gonna create a name for this. First, I'm gonna delete this because I'm not gonna do this. You can do it, it's gonna work fine, but you have to be careful with the slash. So I'm not gonna do this, just to follow a best practice. And what I'm gonna do is I copy this, and now I create a variable file underscore name, just to be more organized. You don't have to do this. I just like to be organized. So file name, and now I copy file name and I put it here. So this is the file name, and now to concatenate this, I'm gonna write this and concatenate it with application underscore path. So basically this is the same. We're concatenating this application path with this file name. So we're not using this slash anymore, or this // anymore, but we're letting this OS path join taking care of it, so we don't run into any issue. So now this is ready, and I'm gonna name this as final underscore path. So this is my final path, and this is what we're gonna work with. So I deleted this by mistake, but everything is fine now. So now I add this final underscore path. So I copy this and paste it. So this CSV is going to be sent to this path. This path is where the executable is going to be located. So we avoid any issue with the executable and paths. And that's it. With this, everything is ready to convert our Py file to executable file and then run this executable file at any time we want. And we're going to do that in the next video. Okay, in this video, I'm going to show you how to schedule this script so you can run it every morning or every day you want at any time you want. So the first thing we have to do is to open up the terminal. I have the terminal here on PyCharm on the bottom. So I just click here, terminal, and here what we're going to do is first install a library called PyInstaller. So PyInstaller is going to help us convert a Py file. So Py file are Python files to executable. So the first step to schedule this script is to convert it to an executable file. And once we have the executable, we can schedule this executable to be run anytime we want. So to install this library, we only write pip install PyInstaller. So you just have to write this, press enter, and wait a little bit. So here I got a message that I have this library already installed, but it's gonna take you a couple of seconds to install this library. Okay, once this is ready, we just clean this up, and now we write the following command. So we write PyInstaller double dash, and then we write one file. So this is the command, and then we have to write the name of this this Py file. So this script. In my case, I name it news-headlines. So I just have to write this name, and I'm gonna press tab. And as you can see here, I have this this script, and I'm just gonna write news-headline. And one little detail I forget to mention is that you have to be located on this folder. So on the folder where the Python file, this Py file is located. So you have to do that on the terminal. Here we're right now on the terminal. And to do that, first I'm gonna copy this so I don't lose this command. And to do that, you have to know how to navigate on the terminal. And on the terminal, we navigate with this command cd, which stands for change directory. So if you're not on the folder where is your Py file, this is not going to work. So you have to use cd, and then, for example, I'm going to use cd to go to the previous folder. And right now I'm on another folder. You can see here, this is the parent folder of tutorial, which is the folder where is my Py file. And I can verify it because if I do cd, I can see the folders that are inside this one. So I write cd and then press tab, and you can see all the folders. And one of them is the tutorial folder, as you can see here. So to go into this folder, I only have to write cd and then write tutorial. So I have this, I press enter, and as you can see, I'm not anymore on the football headlines folder, but I'm right now on the tutorial folder. And this tutorial folder happened to have this script that I need. So this is the script which I need, which I name news-headlines. So perfect. So now I'm gonna clean this, and now I'm gonna delete cd, and I'm gonna use the previous command I had, which I copied. Yeah, is this one. And well, it says PyInstaller double dash one file and the name of my Py file. So this is ready. I'm gonna press enter to convert this Py file to executable. So I press enter, and now we have to wait some seconds. Great, I get the message that building the executable was completed successfully. So now to verify this was successful, we have to go to the folder where this is located. So I'm going here to the left, and here this is my tutorial folder, and in your folder you will see these two folders. One is called build and the other is dist. And your executable is in the dist file. So this is my dist file and this is my Python script, but now it's an executable. So on a Mac, what you can do to test this executable, which I highly recommend you, is to double click on it, and just after you double click, you'll see that the executable will be run. But sometimes when it's the first time you open this, sometimes you won't see this option to open with the terminal, because right now my operating system recognizes that this should be open with the terminal, but sometimes it doesn't know. So what you have to do is to help it. So you have to right click and click on open with, and sometimes you will see the option terminal, but if you don't see it, you just click on other, and then you have to locate the terminal. So you just click here, all applications, then scroll all the way down, go to utilities, and here it should be the terminal. So here I'm gonna open with the terminal. I didn't have to do it, but I just did it to show you how this works. So now I have this executable. I just run this executable by double clicking on it, and here, and well, the executable apparently is running, and we can verify if this is successful by going here to PyCharm, or actually we can see right here. So we can see here in the folder, and we see that we have a new file, and this file is named headline dash, and here's today's date. So 04/28/2022, and this is the format that we used here for the CSV file: month, day, and year. So we verify that this file was successfully created. So we have here the file, and if we check the content, we'll see that it's the title and also the subtitle and also the link. Well, we verify that everything is working fine, and I highly recommend you to verify that the executable was successfully created, because once we schedule this, you'll have to wait until the moment that you schedule to verify if this is working fine. So it's much better if you test it out right now, as I did some seconds ago. Now we're going to schedule when this is going to be run. So now I open up a new terminal. So I click on new window, and here to schedule this executable, we have to open Chrome tab. So we write Chrome tab, then dash, and then E. We press enter, and we're gonna get this window. And here we have to write a command to schedule this executable. And the command has the following format. To show you the format, I'm going to this website, which is called Chrome Tab Guru. And here you can build a part of the command. So here you can know the syntax used by this Chrome tab. So here I previously tested the syntax, so I'm just gonna leave it as the default parameter. So here you see 5 asterisks, and the first represents the minute, the second the hour, the third the day, the fourth the month, and the fifth the day on the week. And here, let's say we want to schedule this executable to be run at 9 in the morning every day. So if we want that, we only delete this and write here 0, because it's 0 in the morning. I mean, the minute is 0 and the hour is 9. So at 9 in the morning. So this hour is from 0 to 24 or 23, I guess. So we have to write 9, and this indicates is 9 in the morning. So it's saying at 9. And here we can also see when is the next time when this is supposed to run. So it's 28th, which is the date today, then 29, then 30, 1 the next month, and the 2nd of the next month. So we have here, we can verify which days this is supposed to run. So this is really good, because you have to be very careful when you create this command, because by mistake you can make it like to run every minute or run every hour, and you might damage the performance of your computer. So be very careful and check out the expression that you're creating here. So I'm gonna copy this, and now I'm gonna paste it here. Okay, this is the first part of my command, and the second is the path of the executable file. So here we have to go here to my folder, and we have to drag this file to the terminal to get the path. So here, first I'm gonna press the I key to go to insert mode. So here I'm in insert mode and I can type anything, as you can see here. So we're in insert mode, and here I'm gonna paste this, or I'm gonna drag this file. So I drag just to get the path. So that's how Mac OS works. So here we have this path, and this is the second part of this command. So first we have to write the hour that we want, or the time we want this to run, and then we have to paste the path of this executable. So everything is ready here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna save this command. And to do that, we have to press the escape key. So I press escape, and now we have to press this colon that you see on the bottom, and now W and Q. So W stands for write and Q stands for quit. So we want to write this and then quit this cron tab. Now I press enter, and we're gonna get this window, and we have to press OK to give permissions. So I press OK, and now this was successfully created. And to verify this, we have to write the command cron tab -L. So we're gonna list all the commands that were created. So I press enter, and now you see that one of the commands created is the one we just created a second ago. So this is the command we created, and with this we're telling our operating system that we want to run this executable at 9 in the morning every day. So I'm not gonna wait until 9 in the morning because it's gonna take too much, and we already tested out this executable file manually, so we know that this is working just fine. So you can schedule this to be run earlier in your computer and verify it yourself, or you can test this out manually as I showed you before. And that's it for this video. In this video, we'll learn how to schedule an executable file to be run at any time we want. Okay, in this video, I'm going to show you how to create pivot tables using Python. So here we have the typical sales data that we have to work with in Microsoft Excel. So we usually have to create pivot tables using Excel, but now we're going to create a pivot table using Python. And in this case, we're going to create a pivot table that tells us how much people spend in each product line. So we're going to divide by gender, male and female, and we're going to see how much each gender spend in product line. So we're going to do this with Python, and first we have to read this Excel file. So I'm going here, and we have to use pandas as usual. So I import pandas as PD, and then to read this Excel file we have to use read_Excel. So this is an Excel file because here we have the XLSX extension. So that's why I'm using read Excel and not read CSV. So now I just have to write supermarket_sales.xlsx, and well, this is the name of the file, and now I'm going to set a name to this. So df equal to, and with this we have the data frame. So we read this Excel file and we put this inside a data frame. So with this, we're reading this Excel file. So now if you want, we can print this. So I print this data frame, and now we'll see the result. And well, here I didn't write the name correctly. So I didn't write supermarket. So I write supermarket now, and we have here the data frame. And as you can see, we got here the same data that is on the left, but now is here printed in PyCharm. So now to make a pivot table, what we have to do is use the pivot_table method. So what we have to do is write df.pivot_table, and then we have to indicate the index, the columns, and the values for this pivot table. Great. And now I'm going to show you the columns that we're going to work with. So these are the columns in yellow. So the gender column, the product line column, and the total column. So I'm going to select these columns so we only see these 3 columns in our data frame. So to do that, first we have to write df, which is the name of our data frame, and then write double square brackets to select multiple columns. So to select one column, we write just a pair of square brackets, and if we want to select multiple columns, we have to write double square brackets. So now we indicate the columns that we want to select. So in this case is the gender column, then is the, I think, product line column, so I just copy this one, and finally is the total column, so total. So with this we have the 3 columns that we wanted. So now I can set df equal to this, and now my data frame will have only these 3 columns. So if I print this, you'll see that we only have 3 columns, and these are the columns that we selected. So this is a good practice when you only want to focus on some columns and you don't want to see all the columns that is in the file. Great. Now let's continue with our pivot table. So I have here the pivot table, and we have to define which are the index, the columns, and the values. So first, what we have to do is remember the goal of this pivot table. So the goal is to see how much each gender is spent in each product line. So if that's our goal, probably we want the gender in the index, and we want the product line in the columns. And also we want to sum the amount of money spent on each product. So now let's define the parameters. First, the index. So index is going to be the gender. Then the column is going to be the product line. So I said here product line. Then we have the values, and as I said before, this is going to be the amount of money. So this is going to be total. And finally, we have the aggregates function that we want to apply. So in this case, we have to write aggfunc. And this is the operation that we want to apply. So in this case, I want to sum. Okay, with this, our pivot table is ready. And now I only have to set this equal to, and I'm going to name this pivot underscore table. So that's the name of my pivot table. And well, now I'm just going to put this here, and well, this is ready. And now I'm going to print this pivot table so you can see its content. So print pivot underscore table. So now I run this, and let's see the result. So here we have our pivot table. And as we can see, we successfully built this pivot table. So in the index, we have the gender, male and female. Then in the column, we have the product line. So there are different product line, electronic accessories, sports and travel, and so on. And finally, in the values, we have the numeric data that was in the total column. So here we have this numeric data, and well, we use the sum as our aggregate function. So we sum the values in each category. And now to see the content of this pivot table much better, I'm going to export this pivot table in an Excel file. So what I'm going to do is delete this, and here I'm going to export this pivot table using to_Excel. And then I'm going to set a name for this Excel file. So I'm going to set it equal to pivot_table.xlsx. And we can also set the name of the sheet. In this case, I'm going to name the sheet as report. So this is the name of my sheet. And then we can also set in which row this data is supposed to be exported. So we only have to add the start row parameter. And in this case, I'm going to export this in row number 4. And with this pivot table is going to be exported in an XLSX file. And the first sheet is going to be named report. And this is going to be exported in row number 4. And by the way, you can also round the numbers inside this pivot table. So you only have to write here that round and 0. So with this, you round the numbers inside this pivot table. So now I run this. So now I should have this file in my working directory. And since I don't have Microsoft Excel in my computer, I'm going to open this in Google Sheets. Okay, I just opened this file, and well, it's named pivot_table. It's an Excel file, and I just opened this in Google Sheets. And well, this pivot table was exported in the row that we specified, and we see that the sheet is named report here on the bottom. And that's it. We successfully created this pivot table with Python and we exported this into an Excel file. In the previous video, we used this sales data to create this pivot table with Python. And now we're going to use this pivot table to create a bar chart. And to do that, we're going to use a library called OpenPyXL. So first we go here and we open the terminal and we install OpenPyXL. So we only have to write pip install OpenPyXL. So now we press enter, and with this we're going to install this library, and this library is going to help us do things we will do in Microsoft Excel, like creating charts or summing values in columns and more things. So now let's import this library. So I write from OpenPyXL import, and the first thing we're going to import is load_workbook. And we're going to use this load_workbook to read our Excel file. So the name of my Excel file is pivot_table. So now I use this load_workbook, and here I write the name of the file. So I write pivot_table.xlsx. And now I set this equal to WB, which stands for workbook. And now I'm going to select the sheet I'm going to work with. So to do that, I have to write WB and then open square brackets, and then we have to write the name of the sheet. In this case, I'm going to use the sheet report, which is here, so the name is report, and now I only have to write report, and this is the name of my sheet, so I set this equal to sheet. All right, with this we have the workbook and we also have the sheet, and now we can use these two variables to manipulate our file. Okay, now what we're going to do is select the active rows and columns that are in our sheet. So here we have some active rows and columns, and this is determined by the cells where our pivot table is located. So here we see that our pivot table is located between A5 and G7. So we have to locate the minimum row, the minimum column, the maximum row, and the maximum column. So let's do this. So I go here, and now we use WB, and then we have to use the active attribute. So I write active, and first let's locate the minimum column. So I write that min_column. So now I duplicate this, and now I do the same, but now with the maximum column. So now maximum column, then minimum row, and then maximum row. So now I set this equal to, and I'm going to set just names that are equal to this. So first minimum column, then maximum column, and so on. So now with the minimum row, and finally with the maximum row. So now we have these 4 variables, and now I'm going to print these 4 variables so you can understand much better what they mean. So first the minimum column, and well, then maximum column, then minimum row, and maximum row. These 4 variables are going to be useful when we make our bar chart. So we get 1, 7, 5, and 7. So for minimum column, we get 1, and for maximum column, 7. So let's go and check here. So minimum column 1, so that's correct because the minimum column is A, which represents 1, and the maximum column where our pivot table is located is G. So it's 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yeah, maximum column 7. So minimum 1 and maximum 7. So that's correct. And then we have minimum row and maximum row, so 5 and 7. So now let's check here, and the minimum row is 5 and the maximum is 7. So this is based where our pivot table is located right now, because this is the only element that is in our sheet. So that's why this is our reference. All right, now that we have these minimum and maximum values, we're going to use these values to create our bar chart. So first I delete this, and now I'm going to import a bar chart from OpenPyXL. So I write from OpenPyXL.chart import bar chart. And now I'm going to instantiate a bar chart object. So I write bar chart and open parentheses, and this is equal to bar chart. So now I have this bar chart object, and now we have to do this. First, we have to import a reference, and this reference is going to have the minimum and maximum value. So I write here, comma, reference. So I'm going to use this reference, and then I'm going to put inside parentheses the minimum and maximum values. Okay, so first, let's indicate the sheet we're working in. So first sheet, and then we have to indicate the minimum and maximum values. So here I write min column or min underscore col, and then I write min column, and I do the same for the other. So I only have to duplicate and add comma. So here I add commas, but we have to change here to maximum column, and then to minimum row, and finally to maximum row. And with this we have the 4 parameters, and now I just have to change the values. So minimum column, then maximum column, then minimum row, and finally maximum row. So okay, now these are the reference, but now we have to split the reference in two. So first we have the data, this is the data, and then we have the categories. This is the categories. So we have to create 2 references. So let's start with the data. So first we have the data, and I'm going to set this equal to data. So I write equal to data, and well, now I'm just going to format this properly, and then I'm going to explain you how this works. So first I'm going to put this in one line so you can see it much better. And okay, now we have to make a little change to this reference, and I'm going to explain you why. So here we have minimum column, minimum row, and maximum row, but these are the minimum and maximum values of the whole pivot table. So here we have the whole pivot table, and the minimum value, as I told you before, is A, so 1. But for the data, the minimum value is V, so number 2. And the maximum value is still G, so 7. So the minimum column is 2 and the maximum is 7. So here, what we have to do is write minimum column plus 1. So here, I have to add plus 1. And as I told you before, the maximum column is going to be the same because it shares the same maximum column with the pivot table. So it's the same maximum column. And then in the rows, the minimum and maximum row, you can see that the data in yellow has the same minimum and maximum row compared with the pivot table. So it's the same. So right now we're analyzing the area in yellow, and it has the same minimum and maximum row compared to the whole pivot table. Okay, so the only thing that changed was the minimum column because it starts in B. So here we added minimum column plus 1. Okay, now let's do the same, but now for the categories. So now I write categories, and here I'm gonna delete this, and let's analyze. So the categories are in green. So the minimum column is still A, that's correct, but the maximum column is not G anymore, but is still A. So here, what we have to do is write in maximum column the value of minimum column. So the minimum and the maximum column are gonna be min underscore column. Okay, so now let's see the minimum and maximum row. So the minimum row is not 5 anymore, but is 6. And the maximum row is 7. So here, what we have to do is add minimum row plus 1. Because minimum row is the reference of the whole pivot table. So 5 plus 1, 6. So here I go and add plus 1. And the maximum row is going to be still 7. So it's going to be the same. It shares the maximum row with the whole pivot table. So it remains the same, and here I will leave it as max underscore row. And with this we have the references for our data and the category. Just one little detail you need to know here. I highlighted these two areas in yellow and in green, so you can know which are the data and which are the categories. But this is the same concept that you will follow in any pivot table. So the categories are going to be always on the left here, and this doesn't include the header, so not this one. And the data does include the header. So in the data, we include the numeric data, which is right here, and also we include the headers. So you have to follow the same concept. All right, now let's create a bar chart. So now that I have the references, I'm gonna use this bar chart object. So I just copy bar chart, and now I'm gonna use a method called add_data. And we already have the data. So the data is here in my data variable. So I only have to add data, and then we have to indicate where we want to create this bar chart. So I'm going to create this in the cell B12. And well, with this, our bar chart is going to be created in B12. All right, now let's add a title to this bar chart, and then let's add a style. So first, let's add the title. So I write bar chart.title, and we set this equal to, and we can write anything we want for our title. In this case, I'm going to write sales by product line, because this is what our bar chart is about. So sales by product line, and then I'm going to change the style. So I'm going to write that style, and this is basically the style that our bar chart is going to have. So when we create charts in Microsoft Excel, we have different styles, so different colors and different shapes, and we can select here only with numbers. So for example, we can use style number 1, style number 3, or style number 5. So for now, we can only guess the number, and then we can see the results when we export this bar chart. All right, now let's save the results. So I write WB, which stands for workbook, and then save. So that's save, and I'm going to export this as bar chart.xlsx. So with this, we're going to save all the results in this Excel file. So now what I'm going to do is run all of this and see the results. So I run this. Well, we got a message of success. But before I open the file, here I made a little mistake. Here I forgot to add the categories. So we created categories, but we didn't add it to the bar chart. So here I'm going to write here bar chart that set_categories, and inside I'm gonna put these categories that we created. So I put this inside, and here we also, this shouldn't be here, this B12 shouldn't be here, sorry, this should be in another method. So first we add data and we add categories to our bar chart, and then once this is done, what we have to do is write sheet that add_chart, and then we put our bar chart here. So I'm gonna write bar chart, and then I'm gonna set the cell where we want this bar chart to be added. So I set this equal to B12, and this bar chart is gonna be added in B12. So just a recap, first we add the data and the categories to our bar chart, and then we use the add_chart method to indicate where we want to add this bar chart. Okay, now I'm going to add just one more parameter here. So I'm going to add title from data, and here equal to true. So we have the title from data in this bar chart. So with this, our bar chart is ready. So now I can run this and see the results. So I now run this. And well, we got this message of success, and now I'm going to open this Excel file so we can see the results. All right, here I open the bar chart file that we created before, and here we have the pivot table, and also we have the bar chart. So this bar chart corresponds to the data in our pivot table. So we created this using the data here and also the categories here on the left. And as you can see, we got here the title that we set here. So sales by product line. We also got this style number 5. So these are the colors and the format we have. And well, we did all of this using OpenPyXL. And one of the coolest things we did when we wrote this code is that no matter how many rows this pivot table has, our code is gonna work, because here we use minimum and maximum values here. So if this pivot table has more rows and more columns, this is still gonna work because we use references. And that's it for this video. In this video, we'll learn how to create bar charts using OpenPyXL. Okay, in the previous video, we learned how to create a bar chart. So we use this pivot table to create this bar chart that you see here. And now we're gonna see how to create formulas like this one. So for example, we're gonna see how to sum these two values, but now we're gonna do this with Python. So instead of writing this formula manually, we're gonna do this here with Python. All right, first I'm gonna show you the easiest way to create a formula in this spreadsheet using Python. So here, I'm gonna first write this formula. So I write sum, and well, we have this formula. And now I'm gonna copy this formula. So the easiest way to create this formula is just writing this in Python. So first I'm gonna paste it here, and I'm gonna put this in quotes. And well, I'm gonna here set this cell, which is B8, equal to this formula. So here I write sheet. So first, of course, you have to read this Excel file. So we have this bar chart.xlsx, which is the name of my file that we created before in the previous video. And then we have to select the sheet. So we have to select this report sheet. This is the report sheet that we have here. And well, we name this as sheet. So now we select sheet and we select the cell we want to work with. So in this case, B8. And then we write this, so sheet B8, and this equal to this expression. So this is basically the same as doing this. So we have B8 here, and we write this equal to this formula. So it's basically the same. So we have this, but now in code. And now to complete this, I'm gonna set a style for this cell. So I only have to write the name of this cell, and then that style. I'm gonna set this equal to currency. So the format is gonna be currency. And well, we're gonna have here a dollar sign, I think. And well, we're gonna have the sum, and this sum is gonna be in currency format. So, okay, now let's run this and let's see the results. So first I'm gonna delete this because I don't wanna do this manually. So I delete this, and now let's see the result. We should have the same, but now with Python. So I run this, and well, we see the result, but actually we didn't save this file. So I'm gonna write here WB just to make sure everything was saved, and that's saved. And I'm gonna export this in another file. So this is gonna be called report.xlsx. So now I run this, and let's see the results. So now we have this file, and well, let's open this file. All right, I have the file here opened, and as you can see, we have here the sum that we did before. So here is the formula, and here's the value. And we have here the dollar sign because we set this cell with the currency style. So great. So with this, we could create this, we could make this sum using Python, but we did this for only one cell. And what if now we want to do this sum for all the cells that are here? So probably we want to calculate the sum for all the cells that are here. So now let's do that. So the simplest thing that you can do is just copy, and well, you can duplicate this. And for example, for B9, or actually for C8, you can just change here C and C, and then you can write C6 and then C7. So that's what you can do. But now I'm going to show you a better way to do this with a for loop. So I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to comment this out. So instead of doing this manually, like for every column you have, we can use a for loop. So first, we're going to use these references that we had before. So we're going to use the minimum and maximum columns and rows. So here First, I'm gonna loop through the rows that we have here. So let's see which rows, or actually let's see which columns we're gonna use, because we're gonna sum these columns between B and G. So I'm gonna use the columns that are in this range, so from B to G. And to do that, we have to use the minimum column plus 1. So minimum column is A plus 1 B, and the maximum column. So okay, let's do this. So first, minimum column plus 1. So basically this is the range where our data is. So as you might remember from previous videos, this was in yellow and this belonged to our data. So B to G. Okay, so minimum column plus 1 and then the maximum column. So these are our two references, and we need to loop through this range. So to do that, I'm going to use the range method. So I write here range, open parentheses, and then we have to write the minimum value. And the minimum value is min underscore column plus 1. And then we have to write the maximum value. But when we use range, we have to write always the maximum value plus 1, because range gets this value minus 1. So it's kind of tricky. I'm going to show you here. But first, I'm going to use this for loop. So for I in range. And then let's print this. So first, I'm going to print, let's say, from 1 to 10. So 1 to 10. So you can see what I'm talking about. So then I print I. And let's see here. I'm not going to save this. So I just want to show you how this works. So when we print a range from 1 to 10, you see that we got 1, 2, 3 until 9. So we got the last element minus 1. So that's why I said before that we have to use here plus 1. So if we write here plus 1, we actually get the number 10. So that's why here, I'm going to delete this. I'm using max underscore column plus 1 because I want to get the maximum column here. So now I'm going to print I and we can see the result. So here we got from 2 until 7, and that's correct because here we want from B until G. So B is number 2 and G is number 7. So that's great. We got the columns here. So we got from 2 until 7. Great. Now I'm going to import something called get underscore column underscore letter. And to do that, we have to write from OpenPyXL dot utilities, or actually it's just utils. And then we have to write import get underscore column underscore letter. And this helps me get the letter from a column. So I'm going to show you here. I'm going to just write here get underscore column underscore letter, and inside parentheses I write the I. So here if I print, I'm going to print I, and then I'm going to print this so we can compare the values. So here I run this, and as you can see, we get 2 for the column B, we get 3 for column C, and we get 7 for column G. So as you can see, this gets the letter based on the number. So if we give 7, this returns G. If we give 2, this returns B. So that's what get underscore column underscore letter does. And we're going to use these letters to create this formula. So here I'm going to copy and paste it so we can see much better what we're going to do. So here, instead of writing B8, for example, I'm going to open an F string, and I'm going to open here curly braces to make this a variable. So instead of writing B, I'm going to use a letter. So here I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to set this equal to letter. So this is my variable, letter equal to, and well, this expression. So here we got the letter, for example, letter B, and then instead of writing here B, I'm going to write letter. So we got here the letter and the number. So now I'm going to do the same here in the formula. I'm going to open here this F string, and then instead of writing B, here I open square brackets twice, and then I write letter here and here. So we have letter, and well, with this we have the letter in our formula. And actually we can do the same here. So instead of B, again, one more time, letter, and well, this is done. And finally, we have to change the numbers. So instead of writing 8, we have to use a reference. In this case, I'm going to use the maximum and minimum rows. So for example, here we had B8, and this represents this cell, B8, and this is the maximum row plus 1. So this sum formula is always going to be located one cell below our pivot table. So we only have to sum the last row of our pivot table or the maximum row of our pivot table plus 1. And this guarantees that we're going to get this cell that we have here, B8. So for example, row 7 plus 1 is 8. So we got this row 8. So now let's write this here. So instead of writing 8, we have to write the maximum row plus 1. And well, the same goes here. Maximum row plus 1. And as you might expect, the formula is always going to be located in maximum row plus 1. So that always happens. And well, then we have to edit this number 6 and number 7. So to do this, we have to take a different approach. So here, let's see. So we sum always the range where the data is. So in this case, B6 and B7. So here we can say that the minimum value is always the minimum row plus 1. Because in the minimum row, we always have the headers. And after the headers is the data. So that always happens. And the maximum row is going to be where the range ends. So for example, this one ends in B7. And this is exactly where our pivot table ends. So we have minimum row plus 1, which is this, and then we have maximum row. So this is our range. So now let's do this here. So instead of writing 6, I write minimum row plus 1. And instead of writing 7, I write maximum row. And this is going to be true as long as you have a pivot table with this format, which is actually the standard format for a pivot table. Yeah, you always have this header and you always have these categories and always the data is here. So basically this is going to work usually. So now that we have this, I'm going to first comment this out because I don't want to print this I. And what I'm going to do here is print the value. So I'm going to comment this out and let's see if we did all of this correctly. So I'm going to print this and let's see the result. So now I run this and well, we get here some B6, B7, which is what we had here before. But now we also have C6, C7, D6, D7 until G6, G7. So this is basically what's going to be here. So we get all of these formulas. And that's great because we did this with a for loop and we didn't do this with manually one by one. So great. Now that we verified this is correct, I'm going to comment this out and I'm going to uncomment this. And actually, I'm going to delete this because I'm not going to use it. All right, now that everything is ready, I'm going to uncomment this wb.save and I'm going to create this report. So I'm going to run this and let's see what happens. So I run this and now I have this file in my working directory. So I'm going to open this to see the results. All right, I just opened this file and as you can see, we have all the formulas that we created before with the for loop in Python. And well, as I mentioned before, this is going to work. The code that we wrote here is going to work as long as this pivot table has this format. But anyway, you can add more columns. So you can add here more columns or you can add here more rows. But well, the format has to be something like this. And that's it for this video. In this video, we learn how to create formulas in our spreadsheet using Python. Alright, so far we learned how to create our pivot table, how to create formulas for multiple columns, and also how to create this bar chart using Python. And now what we're gonna do is complete this report by adding a title and subtitle and also changing the font. So let's do this. So I'm going here to the right, and well, first we have to import load_workbook from OpenPyXL. So we read this Excel file, which I name report.xlsx, and then, well, we have to select the first sheet, which is the report sheet. So once we have this, we can have access to the cells. So I write sheet, and then we open square brackets. So I want to put the title here in A1. So what I have to do is write here A1, and then we can write the title. So I'm gonna put a title which is a sales report. So this is my title, and then I'm gonna write a subtitle in A2, and this is gonna be named as the month. So I'm gonna write January. So we have the title, sales report, and then we have the month in A2. Okay, now let's edit the font. So I'm gonna edit the font of the title. So I write that font, but first we have to import font from OpenPyXL. So I write from OpenPyXL.styles import font. So now I can use this font. So I only have to write font, and then we can choose the font we want. So in this case, I'm going to choose Arial. So I write this, and then we can select bold, for example. So I'm going to set this equal to true. So this title is going to be in bold, and then we can set the size. So I write size equal to, and you can choose any size you want. So I'm going to choose 20 for this. And then we can do the same for the subtitle. So I write sheet, then A2, that font. So this is the font attribute. And then we can change this using this font that we imported. And well, I'm going to set this equal to Arial. And here you can choose any font that you know from Microsoft Excel. In my case, I don't remember so many fonts, so I'm just choosing Arial. So then I write bold equal to true, and well, size, this one a bit smaller, in this case 10. And well, after this, as usual, we have to save the results. So we write wb.save, and I'm going to set the name as report_January. So this is going to be my file. And now I only have to run this. And well, I'm going to open this to see the results. All right, I just opened this file, report_January. And here we have the title, sales report. And this is in bold, and well, the size is 20, as you can see here. And we also have the subtitle, January. And again, it's in bold, but now the size is 10. So we successfully created this title and subtitle, and we could edit the font. And that's it. Now feel free to go to our code and hover on the font class that we have here. So you can see all the parameters that you can use. So for example, strike, color, scheme, size, bold, italic, and so on. Alright, in this video, we're going to put all the pieces together, and we're going to convert the pivot table into an Excel file. So we're going to use the 3 scripts that we created in the previous videos. So this one added a chart, this one here added formulas, and this one here added a title and a subtitle. So I put these 3 scripts together in this script that I named pivot to report. And well, this is basically the same. I just made a little change here. I added a variable that I named month, and well, here we can set the month of the year, and well, this is going to be also the month of this report. And since I added this here, I changed the name of our file that is going to be exported. So here, instead of writing report_January as we had before, here we have report_January. Here, what I did is introduce these curly braces to put this month variable. So we can change here, for example, March, December, and our Excel file is going to have the same name, report_March or report_December. And also here in the subtitle, I set the month. So we have here in the report, we have the name of the month. So with that, our a script is done. So this is basically the same that we have here in number 2, number 3, and number 4, but now with this month variable. And well, the input is going to be our pivot table that we have here, and the output is going to be a report with the formulas and with the bar chart and well, with the title and subtitle. So now let's run this, and well, we got a message of success, and now let's see the result. And here I have the file. So the file's name report_February, and well, we have the title, we have the subtitle, here we have the formulas for each column, and well, we also have the bar chart. So we successfully convert this pivot table into this report. And we could do all of this by putting together the scripts that we wrote in the previous videos. And that's it for this video. In the following video, I'm going to show you how to convert this script into an executable file so you can automate all of this even more. Alright, in this video, I'm going to show you how to convert this Py file into an executable. So right now we have our script, which is a Py file, and we're going to convert this into an executable so we can automate all of this. So first, what we have to do before converting this Py file into an executable is importing two libraries. So we're going to import OS, and we're going to import also sys. So I write OS and then sys. So now we have to create a path for our executable. And to do that, we're going to do this. So we write os.path.dir name. And then we write sys.executable. And this represents the path where our executable is going to be located. So now I set this equal to application_path. And we need to do this because when we convert a script into an executable, the path becomes a bit messy. So we need to make sure that we specify exactly where is the path where our executable is located. So this is why we do this. All right, now instead of writing here the name of the file as we did before, we have to join this name of the file with the path that we have here. So here, instead of only writing this, I'm going to do this. So I'm going to create an input path. So I write input_path, and we set this equal to os.path.join, and we're going to join the application path with the name of our file. So the result is going to be the input path, and this input path is what we're going to read here in load_workbook. So here we need to make sure that this pivot table.xlsx is going to be located in the same folder where our executable is going to be located. So I'm going to do this later. When I create the executable file, I'm going to put this Excel file inside the same folder. So you have to do the same. Okay, now that we have the input path, I'm going to create also an output path. So I scroll all the way down, and here, instead of writing the name of the file, I'm going to create an output path. So I write output_path, and we set this equal to os.path.join. So we have to join path again, and well, again, application path, and we join this with the name of the file. So here we write, and with this we have the output path. So I write output path, and we put this inside that save. And well, with this, we're going to export this report file inside the same folder where our executable file is going to be located. So the input and the output are going to be in the same folder where the executable is going to be located. And that's something that we should keep in mind. All right, now to customize our automation even more, what I'm going to do is ask the name of the month. So instead of just setting the name of the month, what I'm going to do here is write month equal to, and here use the input function. So instead of just writing the name of the month, every time we want to run this executable file, we're going to ask the name of the month. So I'm going to write here introduce month. So this is very cool because every time you run the executable file, you can change the name of the month. So it's not always going to be February, but it can be March, it can be December, it can be July, any month you want. And all the changes are gonna be seen here in the code. So here, when you set that month here, it's gonna be the same month that you write here. So that's very cool. And well, I'm gonna delete this, and with this is done. So now we can convert this Py file into executable because we already set the input and the output path. So now we can open the terminal, and well, here we can run the command that converts the Py file into executable. So to do that, first we have to go to the folder where our script is located. So in my case, my script is named 6.py2exe, and this script is located in the tutorial folder. So you can see this here. And well, in the terminal, I also have to be in the tutorial folder, which is this one. So once you are in the folder where your script is located, you have to run the following command. PyInstaller, then --one file, and then you have to write the name of your script. So in my case, 6.py-2-exe.py. So this is the name of my script. And well, in case you don't have PyInstaller installed, you can write pip install PyInstaller. Well, in case you don't have it, but probably you have this library installed because we already did this step many times in this course. So, okay, once this is done, you only have to press enter, and after this, an executable is gonna be created into a folder named dist. So we're gonna create two folders, a build folder and a dist folder. And the executable is gonna be located inside the dist folder. So we got a message of success. And now let's check this folder. And now if we go here on the left panel, we see that we have two folders, the build folder and the dist folder. And inside the dist folder, we have this executable. And now I'm gonna open this folder. So here I'm in the same folder, but now in a different view. But now you can see that, well, we have the executable. So to run this, first we need to put the pivot underscore table inside this folder. So we put this file inside this folder because, as I mentioned before, we need this file in the same folder where the executable is located. So now that we have this file, we can run this executable. And to do this on a Mac, I'm gonna open with terminal. So I open with the terminal, and now I have the terminal. And as you might remember, I added an input in my code. So here we have this input. So as you can see, it's asking me for the month. So it says introduce month. So what I have to do here is just write the month. So I'm gonna write, let's say March. So this is the name of the month, and well, I press enter, and as you can see, this was executed. So we have here a new file named report_march.xlsx, and this has the report with the title, the subtitle, the formulas, and the bar chart. And well, I can open this one here, but I don't have Microsoft Excel, so it's gonna open with the Numbers app in my Mac. And what I'm gonna do is open this one here in Google Sheets. So I have this report_march, and well, you can see all this data was successfully created. So we have the formulas, we have the title, we have the subtitle with the name of the month I said before, which is March. And well, also we have this bar chart. And well, that's it. We successfully automated our Excel report. In this video, I'm going to show you how to send messages in WhatsApp using Python. So you can send a message to anyone you want at any time you want. So let's get started. Okay, the first method to send messages in WhatsApp using Python is using a library named PyWhatKit. This library allows us to easily send messages in WhatsApp. So first, what I'm going to do is open a terminal. I'm here on PyCharm, and I'm going to write pip install PyWhatKit. So this is the name of the library. And keep in mind that I'm installing this in a virtual environment, and I highly recommend you to install it in a virtual environment because this library has a lot of dependencies. So you want to avoid some conflict, so install it in a virtual environment. So I'm gonna hit enter, and now it's gonna install. So in my case, I have this library already installed, so I have the message requirement already satisfied, but probably it's gonna take some seconds or even a minute for you to install this library. All right, now that we have the library installed, I'm gonna close up the terminal and I'm gonna import this library. So I'm gonna write import py-watkit, and to send a message, I write py-watkit that send msg. And inside, I'm gonna use these parameters. So the first one is the phone number, as you can see here. The second one is the message. The third one is the time in hours. And the fourth one is the time in minutes. So for the phone number, I'm gonna write the phone number with the country code. So we write plus the country code. For example, in America, I think it's +1, and then any number you want. The second one is the message you want to send, and I'm going to write just test, then the time in hours. So here I write the time, I think here is 7:17 in the morning, so I'm going to write here 7 in hours, and then in minutes I'm going to write 7:21. Now in the phone number, I'm not going to write the phone number, I'm going to hide it because I don't want to get any message. So here I'm going to define a variable just for the sake of this video, which is named phone number. Now I write input, and here I write enter phone number. So every time I run this script, it's going to ask me for the phone number and I'm going to write it. So here I'm going to delete this and I'm going to just copy and paste it. You don't need to define this variable. You can write the phone number here. All right, before running this script, keep in mind that in the browser that you use, you need to log into WhatsApp manually. So go ahead and go to your browser, Google Chrome or Safari, and log into WhatsApp using the QR code before we run this code. So I already did this and I'm just gonna run this code and try it out. So I'm gonna check 7:19 is now. So I wanna get the results faster. So I'm gonna put 7:20. So now I run this and I wait a couple of seconds, but first I need to introduce the phone number, and I paste the number and it says in 4 seconds WhatsApp will open, and after 15 seconds it will deliver your message. So now WhatsApp's opening. Now it wrote my message, as you can see below on the bottom of the screen. So now let's wait 15 seconds and it's gonna send the message. So as you can see here, it just sent the message, which is test, and it did it just without any problem. Now I'm going back to PyCharm and I close this one, and I'm going to show you different things you can do with this library. Okay, you can add more parameters to this method, and you can even close the window that was open. So before we open this WhatsApp window, but as you can see, the window is still there. So we can add a parameter in the method to indicate that we want the window to close after we send the message. So to do that, we only, I'm gonna copy and paste this one, and we need to add 2 or 3 more parameters. First is the wait time. As you can see here, the wait time is by default 15. So I'm just gonna leave it 15. So this is the seconds that you have to wait before the message is delivered. So I'm going to leave it as 15 seconds. This is not so important, but now we see this one, tab_close. So this indicates whether we want to close the windows or not. So this is by default set to false, and we're going to set it equal to true. So I write true. And finally, we have close time. So these are the number of seconds that we're going to wait until the tab is closed. So I'm going to set this to 2 seconds. And basically what we're saying here is that we want the tab to close after the message is delivered, and we're going to wait only 2 seconds. So let's run this code. First, I'm going to just change the time because it's not 7:21 anymore, but I'm going to set it to 7:25. And now run. So I paste the number and it says in 18 seconds, WhatsApp will open, and after 15 seconds, the message will be delivered. So 15 seconds here is the same what we set here. This is the default, but we could change it. But that's not important for what we're doing right now. So here, another WhatsApp window was opened, and it says here again, test, as you can see here. And now let's wait 15 seconds for the message to be delivered. So just a couple seconds more, and here it's test, and that window or the tab was closed, as you can see. Great. So what I showed you so far is how to send messages to contacts. So we can also send messages to groups. So now let me show you how to do it. So to send messages to a group that you're part of, we only need to get the ID. So every group in WhatsApp has an ID, and you can get the ID by going to any group you want and choosing the group info section. Then you have to tap on the invite via link option and copy that link. I already have the link of the group I'm gonna use for this video, and if you didn't get it, I'm gonna leave a guide that you can use to get the ID of the group you want to test. So here I'm gonna define first a variable like we did before in phone number, but in this case I'm gonna set this group underscore ID. So enter group ID, and this is not necessary, it's just for the sake of this video. But now we're gonna use PyWhatKit, and here to send messages to a group we have to use send, I think it's this one, send what msg underscore to underscore group. So now the parameters are similar, but instead of phone number, we have to use the ID of the group. So here I'm gonna set write ID, then the second is gonna be the message, so test group. The third one is the time, so in my case 7, because it's 7 in the morning, and the time in minutes I'm gonna set it to 31. So here it's basically the same, just the only thing that changes is the ID. So now I copy group ID and I paste it here. So now we can test this out. So I right click and run this one, and now it's gonna ask my phone number because I didn't comment this out. So just give me a second, I comment this out. And now I'm gonna run this again, and it's asking the group ID. I just paste the group ID. I press enter, and now it says in 49 seconds the message WhatsApp will open, and then the message will be delivered. Now I'm gonna cut the video, and I'm gonna come back when the automation starts. So now it's working, and it found the name of the group. And now let's wait for the message to be type below on the bottom, and as you can see it says test group, and the test group message was delivered to this group. Great, we just learned how to send messages in WhatsApp to contacts and to groups using PyWhatKit.